Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we are going to be doing two looks with the same drugstore makeup. I know I've done videos where I've done multiple eyeshadow looks using the same palette, and I thought it would be really cool to show you two different ways to use the exact same makeup products from primer all the way to setting spray, just so you can really see how many ways you can actually use the same exact makeup products. And I'm super excited because L'Oreal is partnering up with me on this video. You guys know how much I love L'Oreal, and I love so many of their products. And you know what else is really cool is L'Oreal actually let me choose my very favorite L'Oreal products. All of my tried and true favorites I'm going to be using, and I'm also going to be using some other drugstore favorites so that the entire look is all drugstore. All of this drugstore makeup that I'm going to be sharing with you is available at CVS. I will have everything linked down below for you guys if you're interested in picking up any of these items that I'm going to be sharing with you. Here's the before and after so you guys can see the first look that we're going to be creating today. It's going to be very like watercolor inspired, very pink, very spring, and I feel like it's a look that you can wear during the day or night. Before we put on makeup, I wanted to tell you guys about a product that I've been testing out for a couple weeks now. It's the L'Oreal Elvive Total Repair 5 Rapid Reviver Deep Conditioner. Like I said, I've been trying this out for about 2 weeks now, and I really like what it does for my hair. You know when you feel like your hair needs a hair mask or an extra treatment, but maybe you don't really have the time to do so? That's what I've been using this for. You can just replace your normal conditioner. So I just run it through the ends of my hair and I wait 60 seconds and rinse it out, and it kind of just gives your hair an extra boost. I've really been enjoying it. This is the one that I've been using the most, but there are two other ones that I want to show you. This one is the Extraordinary Oil version, and this is designed for dry hair, so if you have really dry hair, this one would be good for you. And then there's also one that is for color treated hair, so if your color is fading or if you feel like it's a little bit damaged, this would be a great one for you to use. But I just really like how you can incorporate these into your normal hair routine. It's just been a really good quick deep conditioner for the days where I need a little extra something but I don't have the time to sit for 15 to 20 minutes and let a hair mask sink in. So I wanted to mention that as well because I've been loving it, and this is also available at CVS, and I will have it linked down below. Alrighty, let's get into makeup. So I've already done my brows off camera. This look is going to be a little bit more dewy and lightweight for those of you who like a little bit more of a lightweight look on the skin especially. I'm going to start off by using the L'Oreal Lumi Shake and Glow Dew Mist. This is a setting spray, but it can also be used to kind of prep the face for foundation. And since I want a really glowy skin look with this, I'm going to go ahead and use this first as well as after to finish the look. I'm going to go ahead and spritz the face with this. I love how that smells. Next, we're going to go into the NYX Angel Veil Skin Perfecting Primer. This is one of my favorite primers. It honestly looks good under any foundation that I apply it under. I'm just going to take a little bit, and for this look, we're going to focus it just in the T-zone or on the areas where you feel like you need a little bit more smoothing out. For me, that is the T-zone. I have larger pores here, so I'm just going to go ahead and use my fingers to spread that out a little bit on the forehead and right on the sides of the nose, as well as on the nose a little bit and a little on the chin. All right, so now that the skin is nice and prepped, I'm going to go into foundation. I'm going to be using the L'Oreal Infallible 24-Hour Fresh Wear Foundation. Mine is in the shade 420, and I'm just going to pump a little bit on the back of my hand, and I'm going to use a smaller brush to apply this. I'm going to start by taking a little bit of product off the back of my hand, and I'm just going to start in the center of the face, and I'm going to work the product that's on the brush outward until I feel like there's not very much product left on the brush. That way we can really avoid overdoing it with the amount of product. Since I really want to keep the skin fresh, I don't want to apply too much foundation for this look specifically. Once I feel like the foundation is pretty evenly distributed, I'm going to go in with my sponge, and I'm going to go ahead and press that into the skin. This just brings back a little bit more of a dewy finish, and it also helps to pick up any excess foundation. All right, so I really like where my skin is at right now. Let's go into concealer. I'm going to be using the L'Oreal Infallible Full Wear Concealer, and I'm using the shade 345 Oatmeal. I love this concealer. It has a really nice large applicator, so you're able to cover a large surface area just with one dip. So I'm just going to go ahead and apply concealer under the eyes like that. And I'm actually going to take the brush that we were using with the foundation, and I'm going to start to blend that out underneath the eye area, taking what's left on the brush and applying that around the eyelid as well. Same thing on this eye. And then I'm going back in with my sponge just to smooth that out a little bit as well. And a little bit goes a long way with this concealer. It's also really good to cover up scars or blemishes, which is what I love to do. So I'm just going to dot this on areas that I feel like I need a little more coverage. This also has a matte finish, and it's not going to smudge or flake all day. It's going to stay in place, which is what we need for any makeup look if you want it to last. And if you wanted to use all cream products for a look like this, you could actually take the same concealer and use a shade that's 1 to 2 shades darker than your foundation, and you can use use that to contour, or you can use a little bit of a lighter shade to really highlight down the center of the face if you want a really nice sculpted look using cream products. I'm just applying a little bit around the nose because a lot of us have redness there. But anyways, I love how this looks. I've loved this concealer for a while now. It comes in 25 shades and it's $10.99 at CVS. Right now I'm going to make sure to pat out any creasing on the eyelid. And I'm going to go ahead and set the eyelid with the Wet n Wild Photo Focus Translucent Powder. I have been loving this powder. And I want to create a really nice base for eyeshadow, so I'm just going to go ahead and set that from lid to brow bone. Now, this look is heavily inspired by Katie Jane Hughes. If you don't follow her on Instagram, you should. This is the photo that really inspired me. It's so soft and pink. So that's kind of the same vibe that I'm going to be creating with this look. And I'm actually not going to set the rest of the face yet, not even the under eyes, which is not what I normally do, but it will make sense in a minute. Next, I'm going to go into the Milani Pure Passions eyeshadow palette, and I'm going to dip into this shade right here called Always Pink of Me. I love that shade name. I think it's so cute. I'm going to get some of this on a brush, and I'm just going to start to buff this on the outer portion of the eye. So I really want to make sure that this is going into the crease here, and I'm kind of buffing it out toward the end of the brow as well. But I'm just layering that up in small layers until I get the intensity that I want, and I'm really just focusing this on the outer half of the eye, and I am going to bring it in a little bit right here as well. And let's do the same thing to this eye. Alright, so that's all we need from the eyeshadow palette for now. Next, I'm going to go into the Burt's Bees blush in the shade Shy Pink. I'm going to take some of this blush, and we're actually going to use it as eyeshadow today. And with this, I'm going to start to layer this on the inner half of the eye, and I'm going to really start to buff and blend this up toward the brow a little bit right here, and I'm blending it into that existing eyeshadow shade. And I'm actually going to buff it into this inner corner quite a bit, which I absolutely love. I love the pink moving into a little bit more of a peachy pink on the end. Again, I'm going to do the same thing on this eye, just building it up in light layers. I'm going to take what's left on the brush and kind of buff it right here on this inner corner, a little bit along the lower lash line. She doesn't really have much going on this part of the lower lash line, but the pink does drag into this inner corner here a little bit, so I'm going to mimic that. So to intensify it just a little bit, I'm going to dip that same brush into the blush, and I'm going to take the L'Oreal Shake and Glow Dew Mist and just spray the brush really fast. And this will intensify the color a little bit. And I want the most intense part to be on this inner corner here. So I'm just going to layer a little bit more of that pink right here. And I'm making sure to buff and blend it into the existing shadows so that we create a little bit of a gradient from inner corner to outer corner. And let's do the same thing on the other eye. Spraying the brush again, and then buffing it on this inner corner. It's amazing how you can get different intensities from your product just by spraying your setting spray on the brush. It really is a good way to make it look like you're using 3 different eyeshadows as opposed to 2. Alright, so now that we have that done, I'm just going to take a small brush and just kind of dust away any of the fallout under the eye. And the reason why I didn't want to set the eyes yet is because I'm going to take a little bit more of this L'Oreal Infallible Full Wear Concealer, and I'm just going to dot the tiniest bit underneath the eye again. And I'm going to take my sponge again. It's stained from my last makeup tutorial. I used like a cheek stain and it won't come out of my sponge, so just ignore that. But I'm just going to go ahead and blend out this concealer underneath the eyes to make sure that everything is nice and bright. It just kind of cleans it up a little bit and adds a little more coverage to any dark circles that are still showing through. Let's actually add mascara right now. I'm going to be going into my favorite mascara. I love this. This is the L'Oreal Voluminous Lash Paradise Mascara. It looks like this and I absolutely love it. And I'm pretty much going to focus the mascara on the top lashes, since that's where most of the drama is. I'm just going to do about 2 coats on the top lashes. We're going to put a little bit on the bottom lashes, but honestly not too much. I'm just kind of tapping the brush along the lower lashes just to define them a little bit, and then I'm pulling off any little chunks of mascara just to make sure the lower lashes don't look too overdone. Alright, now I'm going to take a little bit of the Wet n Wild Translucent Powder, and I'm going to set the under eye area, and I'm also going to take that same brush and just buff some powder along the T-zone. And then I'm going to take a fluffy brush, and I'm going to use this to lightly set the perimeters of the face. Alright, we're just going to sculpt the face a little bit. I'm going to use the L'Oreal True Match Lumi Bronze It Bronzer. This one is in the shade Light. You guys probably know how much I love this bronzer. And I'm just going to use this to kind of lightly contour and bronze the cheeks. I'm not really looking to do super heavy sculpting as much as like a light structure to the face. So I'm just going to take it along the hairline a little bit and under the cheekbones. I also like to take a little bit along the jawline and down the neck. And then we're going to go back into that Burt's Bees blush that we used as eyeshadow. And I'm just going to take this on a small fluffy brush, and I'm going to smile and start to apply this onto the cheeks. I'm going to use light layers and just start to build this up a little bit higher than normal. I'm going to put it kind of closer to the cheekbone, and I'm just going to continue to layer this until I get the intensity that I want. And again, I am kind of bringing it higher than normal. I feel like that just kind of gives a different kind of look to the skin. It makes it look more, I don't know, editorial or youthful. I'm going to apply a little bit across the nose, just whatever's left on the brush. And then I'm actually going to take this same exact brush and I'm going to dip into the Wet n Wild Mega Glow highlighting powder. This is in the shade Bloom Time, and I'm actually going to take this, and since it does have a little bit of a pink hue to it, I'm almost going to treat it like a blush topper. So I'm just going to smile and really lightly start to build that up on the front of the cheeks and kind of apply it right over top of what we just applied. So essentially it's a highlighter and it will give that highlighting effect, but it's also going to kind of let that pink blush show through underneath. So it'll kind of just look like it's all one product. I'm going to take a little bit of this and just dust it down the center of the face. I'm not going to be too precise with this. Also a little bit above the brows just to highlight that. And I really want to emphasize the shimmer kind of on the apples of the cheeks, so I'm just continuing to layer that up a little bit more. I feel like that just keeps the skin looking really nice and fresh. And for lips, I'm going to take the L'Oreal Color Riche matte lipstick, and this is in the shade 976 Power Petal. For this look, I'm actually just going to kind of dab on the color and blend it out with my finger, and we're going to get a little bit more of a sheer finish. And you'll see, compared to the look that we're going to do next, this is going to look like basically a completely different lip color, just because I'm going to take the time to really sheer it out. So I'm just continuing to build that up on the lips and then taking my finger and just blending it in. I'm actually taking a little bit of what's on my lips and I'm applying it over the blush as well, just to intensify it right here on the apples of the cheeks and to kind of tie in all the colors together. All right, we're going to assess the situation for look number one. I'm just taking the bronzer brush that I used before. I didn't add any more product on it, but I'm just kind of dusting that across the forehead a little bit more. I'm also going to take just a slight bit more blush. I always end up adding a little more blush, I feel. And after that, I feel like everything looks the way I want it to, so we're going to use the L'Oreal Shake and Glow Dew Mist again. And we're going to shake this up before spraying, and I'm just going to go ahead and spritz the entire face again. And then I'm going to use my fan to kind of dry that off while pressing in the setting spray really lightly with my sponge. So now I'm going to make the brows a little bit more feathery with the NYX Control Freak Brow Gel. And I'm just going to use that to kind of fluff up the brows. So there you have it, folks. That is look number one. This is so perfect for springtime. This may be something that you'd want to wear during the daytime, or it could be your version of an evening look. Either way, I feel like it's different. It's editorial, but it's still wearable. The skin is very dewy and fresh. It's really lightweight because we used a lot of light layers. So yeah, I really love this first look. We're going to amp it up a little bit and create a little bit more of an intense eye and lip in the second look. Here's the before and after of that look so we can get right into it starting now. Alright, so we are fresh faced and ready for look number two. This time we're going to start with the eye look. So I'm going to go back into the L'Oreal Infallible Full Wear Concealer and we're going to dot just a tiny bit of this right onto the eyelid and we're going to blend that out with our sponge. I love to use concealer on the eyes when doing a more bold look. I just feel like it primes the area really well, especially when you have a concealer like this that's going to set really nicely and last for hours and hours. I'm going to go ahead and take some of that Wet n Wild translucent powder that we were using in the last look that we created, and I'm just going to go ahead and dust this all over the eyelid. Alright, going back into the Milani eyeshadow palette, this is the Pure Passions palette. I'm going to go ahead and dip into this shade right here. And this time we're just going to use this as our transition shade. So I'm going to work this back and forth in windshield wiper motions, right in the crease and then a little bit above once the brush gets a little less product on it. I always love to do a transition shade when I know I'm going to be doing a more intense eye look. It just helps everything look way more seamless in the end. Next, we're going to dip into this shade right here called Totally Fond of You. It's kind of like a mustardy brown. And I'm just going to take that on a fluffy brush. I'm going to tap off the extra and we're going to start to layer this all over the eyelid. I want most of the intensity at the base of the eye, and then once the brush gets less product, again, we can kind of buff it up into the crease to meet that first shade that we applied. And I'm just building up this pigment on the other eye as well, and then I'm also kind of blending it out toward the end of the eye. I'm trying to create a little bit of a cat eye shape, so I'm also kind of winging it out toward the end of the brow like this. I love this shade once it's all built up on the eyelid. It's so pretty. I'm going back into the brush that we used for the transition shade, And I'm just gonna buff that over the transition area basically, just to make sure that everything is nice and blended. All right, we're gonna be taking a smaller brush, and I'm gonna take this shade right here, which is the darkest one in the palette. This is called Late Date. And I'm not gonna wet the brush, I'm just gonna take a little bit of this and I'm gonna start to run this across the entire lash line on the top lid. And I really wanna make sure I'm getting super close to the lashes because this is basically gonna double as an eyeliner. If I get the intensity really close to the lash line, it'll create that definition that I want. And then I'm gonna take the same brush, I'm not gonna dip back into the pan, but I'm just gonna move that back and forth across the entire lash line just to kind of buff that out a little bit to kind of soften and smoke out that line that we created. I'm going back in with another layer really close to the lash line just to darken that up a little bit. All right, next I'm going to take a makeup wipe and I'm going to clean up any fallout under the eyes, and I'm also going to tighten up this line right here and on this side as well. And then I'm going to press that into the skin so that we don't have too harsh of a line, but I do want that shape to stay. So I'm just gonna leave the eyes like that for now. Let's jump into complexion. This time, since we're going for a little bit more of a glam look, I'm gonna take the same NYX Angel Veil Primer and I'm gonna apply it all over the skin. In the last look we did, we kind of focused it on the T-zone, but for this one, I'm taking just a little bit more and I'm gonna really smooth out the entire complexion. Next, I'm going back into the L'Oreal Infallible 24-Hour Fresh Wear Foundation, and I'm gonna do one pump on the back of my hand. And this time I'm going in with a larger brush because I do want a little more of a full coverage with this look. So I'm just going to go ahead and start to swipe this across the entire face. And I'm also making sure to blend that down the neck. And then I'm going to go ahead and press that into the skin with my sponge again. All right, I like where the complexion is right now. I'm going to go back into the L'Oreal Infallible Full Wear Concealer. And since this is more of a glam look, I'm going to add a little more concealer underneath the eyes. And we're going to do the same thing where we use the concealer to spot conceal any blemishes that I want extra coverage on. And I'm also going to use it down the center of the face this time, just to highlight everything a little bit. And I'm going to go ahead and blend out the concealer with my sponge. Alright, so we've got the concealer all blended out and I feel like my skin looks super flawless and super full coverage, which I personally really like. Now we're going to go ahead and set the entire face. I'm going to go back into the same powder we used last time. This is the Wet n Wild Photo Focus Translucent Powder. And I'm going to make sure that there's not extra product underneath the eyes before I go in and set it with powder. And I'm just going to go ahead and kind of press that underneath the eye area. I guess we're kind of doing a light bake, but this will just ensure that a more glam look lasts longer. And after I set the under eyes, I'm just going to go ahead and set the T-zone. And then I'm going to take the larger brush, and this time I'm going to kind of press it into the skin to really make sure that that full coverage foundation lasts all day. All right, let's finish up the eye look. I'm going back into the brown shade that we used, and I'm just taking the same brush and I'm going to pinch it. I'm going to make sure to tap off the extra and then pinch the brush, and I'm going to run this across the entire lower lash line. This is what's really going to create that overall smoky eye. Just going to continue to buff this, and I'm not going to dip it back into the pan, but I am going to keep buffing and blending until it's super smoked out along the lower lash line. And I'm also making sure to connect it to the existing shadows on this outer corner here. Same thing on this eye. And I know it kind of looks funny right now, but once we apply mascara, it all makes sense. I'm going back into that small brush and back into the darkest shade in the palette, tapping off the extra, and we're going to do the same thing where we run this shade across the entire lash line on the lower lash line. And I'm not dipping this back into the pan either. I'm just continuing to really buff this out, and as the brush has a little less product on it, I'm going to continue to buff it lower into that first shade that we applied. But I'm keeping most of the intensity right up against the lash line. All right, I'm actually going to go into the highlighter that we're going to be using. This is the Wet n Wild Mega Glow Highlighting Powder in the shade Bloom Time. And I'm actually going to take that on a brush. I'm going to tap off the extra, and I'm going to go in to the inner corner right here. I'm just going to apply a little bit of shimmer right through this area here and kind of blend it up toward the brow bone. And I'm going to do the same thing on this eye. So now that I have a little bit of shimmer from here, kind of up toward the crease, I'm actually going to intensify the shimmer right here below the brow bone, just a little bit, so that when you turn your head in certain angles, you see that gold shift. And I'm just going to take my finger and kind of press down the pigment under the brow to keep that a little bit more subtle. I'm taking the small powder brush that we had before, and I'm not adding anything to it, but I'm just kind of buffing away any fallout that we have and kind of buffing some more powder into these lower edges right here to kind of help them blend into the skin. All right, this is where mascara is going to really transform the look. I'm going to go ahead and apply about 3 coats of the same L'Oreal Lash Paradise mascara to the top and bottom lashes. All right, we've got mascara on. There are a few mascaras that build up as well as this one does. You guys know I've been raving about that mascara for years. I'm gonna go ahead and remove the foundation on the lips because it's just gonna drive me crazy. And now let's add some life back into the skin. I'm gonna take the L'Oreal True Match Lumi Bronze It Bronzer in the shade Light. This time I'm going in with a bigger brush, and that's just going to help us create a little bit more of an all-over bronze, where before we just kind of sculpted a little bit. I'm going to smile and start to apply this underneath the cheeks, along the hairline, and I'm also going to take this along the jawline and down the neck. I love this bronzer because it has a little bit of a sheen to it, so it sculpts the face, warms the complexion, and also leaves a little bit of a glow, which I love. Then we're going to go into the Burt's Bees blush in Shy Pink, and I'm going to take a fresh brush with this, and I'm going to take a little bit of this, and I'm really actually going to focus this more toward the sides of the cheek versus the very apple of the cheeks where I normally apply blush, just because I want to show you that you can use the same products, but if you just switch your techniques a little bit, you can create a completely different look. I feel like this technique almost creates more of a sculpted face, where bringing it on the apples of the cheeks and across the nose and blending it upwards kind of makes it look more youthful, just like we did in our last look. All right, we're gonna go back into this highlighter, and instead of using it as a blush topper, we're really gonna focus this on the high points of the face. So I'm gonna go around the brow right here in a C shape. Same thing on this side, and we're going to be a little bit more precise going down the center of the face. So I'm applying it right here in the center of the nose, and then we're going to apply it on the Cupid's bow as well. I'm going to take the brush that we used with translucent powder and just kind of buff over everything that we just applied, the bronzer, blush, and the highlight, just to make sure there's no harsh lines anywhere. And now let's apply lipstick. I'm going to take that same L'Oreal Color Riche lipstick in the shade Power Petal. This time, instead of shearing it out, we're going to really kind of layer it up to get the full color. I do still like to blend these out with my finger anyway, even if I am applying a little bit more color, but it's almost looking like we're using a different lipstick, even though we're actually not. We just sheared it out in the previous look. And I'm just continuing to blend that out with my finger until I get the shape that I want. I'm actually going to perfect the shape a little bit since we are doing a more intense lip. I'm just taking a little brush, and I'm just gonna kind of tighten up the lip lines a little bit. I'm gonna fix the brows a little bit. I just feel like sometimes after glam looks like this, they can lose a little bit of their shape. All right, we're gonna step back and assess the situation. Immediately, I want a little bit more color on the cheeks. So I'm just gonna do the same thing, and I'm gonna layer it up on the outer portions of the face, just kind of intensifying that a little bit more. And I'm also gonna take a tiny bit of this blush, tap off the extra, and I'm just gonna buff a little bit right here on the eyes. That just helps pull the entire look together. Even though it's kind of subtle, I really like how that looks. Just adding a little more bronzer to the hairline. Other than that, I feel like things are pretty good, so we're gonna go ahead and lock it in with the L'Oreal Lumi Shake and Glow Dew Mist. I'm gonna go ahead and spritz the entire face with this. And I'm gonna be pretty generous. Then we're taking the fan, and we're gonna do the same thing, where we just lightly press the setting spray into the skin while we dry it off with the fan. And last but not least, we're gonna set the brows with the same NYX Control Freak Brow Gel. All right, you guys, so that completes the second look using the same exact products. Obviously, you can see that this look is a little bit more sultry with the smoky eye and the bold lip. So this one, in my opinion, would be perfect for the evening. But hopefully you guys found this video helpful, because I really do feel like we can use a lot of the same products that we already have and do several different kinds of looks, and not just eyeshadow looks, but use the same products in different ways. I feel like these kinds of techniques can really help you if you're traveling, and if you don't really have space to pack a lot of makeup. This is a really great way to get a lot of options with what you bring. Or say you're traveling and you accidentally forgot your makeup bag, you could easily run into a CVS and pick up all of these products and get both of these looks using the same exact things. So yeah, I hope you guys found this video helpful. Let me know in the comments below which look was your favorite. Did you like look number 1 or look number 2. Thank you again to L'Oreal for partnering with me on this video. It's seriously a dream come true. I have loved their products for so long. They make some of my favorite drugstore makeup. Thanks so much for watching, you guys. If you're new here, hi, my name is Allie and I would love for you to join the family. You can do so by hitting the subscribe button, and if you're already a subscriber but you want to be notified on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays when I upload, click on the bell after you subscribe and you'll get a notification every single time I post. That's it for me today. I hope you have an amazing day wherever you are, and I will see you in my next video. Love you. Bye!